Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going to be diving into something a little bit different today. Something I have to admit I was pretty skeptical about at first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, homeopathy.
Okay.
I mean, using snake venom to heal?
Right.
It sounds a bit out there.
It does, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah, that's what makes this deep dive so interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to be using the book Homeopathy, Beyond Flat Earth Medicine, to really explore how this system works.
Okay.
And trust me, it's a lot more nuanced than just like, poison cures poison.
Okay. Color me intrigued.
Good.
So where do we even begin with something like this?
Right.
What's the basic idea behind homeopathy?
The core principle is this idea of like cures, like.
Okay.
It's also known as the law of similars.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this idea that a substance that can cause symptoms in a healthy person can actually treat those same symptoms in someone who's sick,
Okay.
but only when it's given in extremely diluted doses.
Okay, so using a tiny bit of the problem to nudge the body toward a solution.
Okay.
It's still a bit mind-bending, but I'm following so far.
Good.
The book mentions coffee as an example, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We all know that coffee can keep you up all night.
Mm-hmm.
But in homeopathy, a highly diluted dose of coffee can actually be used to help with insomnia,
Really?
especially the kind where your mind is just racing and you can't shut off those thoughts.
Huh. So it's like a targeted approach using the substance's energy to rebalance the body.
That's a great way to put it. And this is where homeopathy really diverges from conventional medicine,
Right.
which focuses on kind of suppressing symptoms or directly attacking the disease.
Mm-hmm.
In homeopathy, the goal is to really understand the individual's unique response to the illness
Okay.
and use remedies to stimulate their own healing abilities.
So it's less about fighting the disease and more about supporting the body's own fight.
Exactly.
Right, but how do you even figure out which substance will treat which symptoms?
Homeopaths use this process called provings, where they basically give a substance to healthy volunteers
Yeah.
and very, very carefully document any symptoms they experience.
Oh, wow.
Physical, mental, emotional,
Okay.
and all of that information is then compiled into this giant reference book
Okay.
called the Materia Medica.
Wow.
It's essentially a homeopath's encyclopedia of remedies.
So it's like detective work, figuring out the substance's unique fingerprint based on its effects.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But let's say you found the right remedy. Wouldn't you need like a massive dose to actually have any effect?
Actually, it's the opposite.
What?
Homeopathic remedies are diluted and vigorously shaken
Okay.
in this process called potentization.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that this actually makes them non-toxic
Okay.
while enhancing their therapeutic properties.
Wait, so more diluted means more potent?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
I know it sounds counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but think of it this way.
Okay.
It's not about the physical substance itself, but the energetic imprint that it leaves behind. It's kind of like how a single drop of perfume can fill an entire room.
Right.
You don't need a whole bottle.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this like cures like thing works in theory,
Yeah.
but does it actually play out in real life?
The book has this really compelling case study
Okay.
about a woman named Beverly.
Okay.
And Beverly had chronic cystitis,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing really seemed to help.
Wow.
But she also had some sinus problems
Okay.
and some pretty deep emotional trauma from childhood abuse.
Wow.
And conventional medicine kind of treated each of these as separate issues.
Okay, so how did homeopathy approach her case?
Instead of just focusing on the cystitis, the homeopath looked at Beverly as a whole person.
Okay.
They dug into her emotional state, her past experiences, all those seemingly unrelated symptoms.
It's like they were piecing together a puzzle looking for the underlying pattern that connected all of her symptoms.
Exactly. And based on that holistic picture, they prescribed a remedy called pulsatiller, which is known to be helpful for people who are very gentle and emotional.
Mm.
Easily moved to tears, crave fresh air.
Okay, and did it work?
Not only did her cystitis clear up,
Wow.
but her sinus congestion vanished. Her energy level soared, and she even experienced this profound emotional shift.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah,
It really speaks to the interconnectedness of our physical and emotional well-being.
for sure.
But I have to admit, this whole idea of a vital force that homeopathy talks about still seems a little abstract to me.
It's definitely a different way of thinking about health.
Uh-huh.
Imagine this invisible energy that animates all living things.
Okay.
That's the vital force.
Okay.
Homeopaths believe that illness is essentially a disruption of this energy,
Mm-hmm.
and remedies basically help to rebalance it.
So it's like a life force that flows through everything.
Yeah.
Similar to the concept of qi in Chinese medicine or prana in yoga.
You got it.
Okay.
Now, I know modern science doesn't really acknowledge the existence of a vital force,
Right.
but that doesn't mean that it's not worth considering. Think of it as a different perspective, a way of understanding the interconnectedness of the body and mind that maybe science hasn't fully grasped yet.
That's a good point. Maybe science just hasn't caught up with the wisdom of these ancient healing traditions.
Well, it's possible.
So let's say someone is convinced and they want to try homeopathy.
Okay.
What should they expect when they start treatment?
Well, that's where the real journey begins.
Okay.
It's not a quick fix, though. Chronic conditions especially can take, a few weeks to show improvement.
Sure.
And even then, the first changes might be very subtle.
Like what are some early signs that the treatment is working?
You might notice improvements in your sleep,
Okay.
maybe some reduced anxiety, or just a general sense of feeling lighter and more energized.
Right.
Homeopathy emphasizes healing from the inside out.
Okay.
So those internal shifts often happen before you see changes in your physical symptoms.
Interesting. Okay, so it's about being patient and paying attention to those subtle shifts. But what if you're dealing with something more immediate, like a really bad cold or a sudden injury? Can homeopathy help with that too?
Absolutely. Homeopathy can be used for acute situations
Okay.
as well as chronic conditions.
Wow.
It can be surprisingly effective for things like colds, flu, ear infections, even minor injuries.
So it's not just for those deep-seated long-term imbalances. You can use it for everyday ailments too.
Exactly. Think of it as a toolbox
Okay.
filled with different remedies for different situations.
Okay.
But it's important to remember that homeopathy is not a replacement for emergency medical care.
Right, of course.
So if you're facing a life-threatening situation,
Yeah,
you should always seek immediate medical attention.
absolutely.
It's interesting to think about how long homeopathy has been around.
Yeah.
It's often seen as this alternative thing,
Mhm.
but it actually predates a lot of what we consider conventional medicine today.
That's right. The book mentions that homeopathy kind of emerged back in the 18th century when conventional medicine was a whole different ballgame.
Oh yeah, totally. Imagine a time when bloodletting and mercury were considered cutting-edge treatments.
Oh my God.
It's no wonder people were looking for gentler alternatives.
Right. So homeopathy was actually kind of a response to the harsh practices of the time.
Exactly.
It was like, hey, maybe there's a way to work with the body instead of against it.
Exactly. And you know what's fascinating?
What?
Homeopathy was super popular back in the 19th century, even among the elite.
Really?
Yeah, the book mentions that Queen Victoria's personal physician was a homeopath.
Wow, no way. So it wasn't just some fringe movement. It was actually pretty mainstream.
Absolutely. But like anything, it's had its ups and downs.
Right.
The 20th century saw a decline in homeopathy's popularity, especially in the U.S.,
Yeah.
as pharmaceuticals kind of took center stage.
It's like the rise of the magic bullet mentality.
Right.
Just pop a pill and you're good to go.
Exactly.
But now we're seeing a resurgence of interest in these more holistic and natural approaches.
For sure. I think people are starting to realize that health is more than just the absence of disease.
Right.
It's about, feeling vibrant and balanced in all aspects of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where homeopathy really shines.
Okay, but what about the science?
Right.
I know a lot of people are skeptical because they say there's just not enough evidence to support homeopathy.
Yeah, that's a valid question, and it's something that the book addresses.
Okay.
The thing is, conventional scientific methods, with their emphasis on these double-blind studies, don't always translate well to homeopathy.
Why not?
Because homeopathic treatment is so individualized.
Okay.
You're not comparing apples to apples.
Right.
Each person's remedy is based on their unique symptoms and constitution.
So it's like trying to study the effectiveness of custom-tailored clothing by measuring a bunch of people wearing off-the-rack sizes.
Exactly.
The results aren't going to tell you much.
Right. So, and while some studies have shown positive results for homeopathy, we need more research that really takes this individualized approach into account.
The book talks about how some homeopaths are now using this thing called outcome-based research.
Yes.
Where they're tracking patients' real-world experiences and responses to treatment.
That's a really promising development.
Yeah.
Because it focuses on how homeopathy actually works in practice rather than trying to force it into a box that doesn't quite fit.
Right. Okay, so maybe the science is still catching up, but what about its safety? Is homeopathy safe for everyone, including pregnant women and children?
That's one of the biggest advantages of homeopathy,
Okay.
especially for these more sensitive populations,
Mm-hmm.
the remedies are so diluted that they're incredibly gentle and non-toxic.
So it's like giving the body a nudge in the right direction without any of those harsh side effects.
Exactly.
The book mentions that homeopathy can even be used for things like morning sickness and breech babies.
It's true. It can be a really great option for supporting moms and babies during pregnancy and childbirth. And for kids, it can help with everything from, ear infections to colic.
It's amazing to think that the same system of medicine can address such a wide range of issues across all ages. What about animals?
Oh, yeah.
Can homeopathy be used for them too?
That's one of the coolest things about homeopathy.
Okay.
It seems to work across species.
Really?
Yeah, the book has this great story about a cat named Ming who was cured of a tumor using a homeopathic remedy.
Wow. So it's not just humans who benefit from this vital force concept.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
And that really speaks to this idea that homeopathy is tapping into some kind of universal principle of healing
Right.
that extends beyond our human-centric view of the world.
Okay, so we've talked about the history, the science, and the safety of homeopathy.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get practical.
Okay.
If someone decides they want to try it,
Yeah.
what's the first step?
The most important thing is to find a qualified and experienced homeopath.
Okay.
You want someone you feel comfortable with and who really listens to you.
And be prepared to open up about everything, right?
Yes.
Not just the physical symptoms, but, your emotional state, your past experiences, even your likes and dislikes.
Exactly. Homeopathy is all about treating the whole person.
Mm-hmm.
So the more information your homeopath has, the better they can understand you and find the remedy that really fits.
It's like going on a detective mission together,
Yeah.
searching for those clues that unlock your healing potential.
I love that analogy. And remember, it's a process.
Right.
Healing takes time,
Yeah.
especially if you've been dealing with something chronic for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Be patient with yourself and trust the process.
And most importantly, remember that you're not alone in this journey.
Yes.
You have a partner in your homeopath,
Absolutely.
and you have the incredible power of your own body working alongside you.
That's so beautifully said. And, speaking of partnering with your body, I think it's important to also address the role of conventional medicine.
Right, because homeopathy isn't about rejecting all other forms of healthcare, is it?
Definitely not. The book is very clear that homeopathy should not be seen as a replacement for conventional care
Okay.
in emergency situations or for conditions that require immediate medical or surgical intervention.
So it's not an either-or situation.
Right.
They're
They
more
have
of
a
a
both
both hand.
Exactly. There are times when conventional care is absolutely necessary,
Mm-hmm.
like, in life-threatening emergencies or for certain surgical procedures.
Right, of course.
But for many chronic conditions, homeopathy can offer a really viable and often gentler approach,
Okay.
especially if you're looking to, minimize your reliance on medications
Yeah.
or address the root cause of the imbalance.
The book gives a couple of specific examples like Candida overgrowth
Yeah.
and hormone replacement therapy.
Mm.
For Candida, it emphasizes that rather than just killing the yeast with antifungal medications, homeopathy focuses on strengthening the body's overall health and immune system,
Mm-hmm.
making it less susceptible to overgrowth in the first place.
It's like shifting the train so the problem can't take root.
Exactly. And what about hormone replacement therapy,
Yeah.
particularly during menopause?
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of women are hesitant to take synthetic hormones.
Yeah, for sure.
So how can homeopathy help with that?
Homeopathy can be a great option for navigating menopause naturally.
Okay.
It can help with everything from hot flashes to mood swings, allowing women to transition through this phase without resorting to hormones that might not feel right for them.
So it's all about working with the body, not against it.
Exactly.
And that brings us back to that core principle of homeopathy,
Mhm.
treating the whole person, not just the disease.
The book has this really interesting analogy for this.
Okay.
It compares conventional medicine to looking at the earth as if it were flat.
Okay.
You only see this limited perspective,
Right.
focused on the specific problem at hand.
But homeopathy is like understanding that the earth is actually a sphere.
Exactly.
You get a much bigger picture.
Yes.
You see how everything is interconnected.
And that's why the homeopathic interview is so thorough. It's not just about listing your symptoms,
Mm-hmm.
but exploring your whole life story,
Yeah.
your past experiences, your emotional patterns,
Yeah.
even your dreams and fears.
It's like piecing together a puzzle,
Yeah.
looking for the underlying pattern that connects all those seemingly unrelated pieces.
And it's this holistic approach that allows homeopathy to really address the root cause of imbalances,
Okay.
leading to a deeper and more lasting healing.
I love how homeopathy really embraces that mind-body connection.
For sure.
And speaking of deeper levels, let's circle back to the concept of the vital force.
Yes.
It's such a key part of homeopathic philosophy, but it can be so hard to wrap your head around.
It is a bit of a mind bender,
Yeah.
but think of it as the energy that animates all living things.
Okay.
It's the force that drives growth, healing, adaptation.
So it's not something you can see or measure under a microscope,
Right.
but it's the essence of what makes us alive.
Exactly. And homeopaths believe that illness is essentially a disturbance in this vital force.
Okay.
And the remedies act as these gentle nudges,
Yeah.
helping to bring that force back into balance.
It's like tuning a musical instrument.
Yeah.
When it's out of tune, it doesn't sound right.
Right.
But with a few adjustments, it can create beautiful music again.
I love that analogy. And, you know, even though modern science hasn't fully embraced the concept of a vital force,
Right.
it doesn't mean that we should dismiss it.
Right. Science is always evolving.
Absolutely.
And our understanding of the human body is far from complete.
For sure.
Who knows? Maybe someday we'll find scientific evidence for this energy that homeopaths have been talking about for centuries.
It's an exciting possibility, and it speaks to the importance of keeping an open mind
All right.
and exploring different perspectives on health and healing.
Mm-hmm.
After all, we're all on this journey together,
Right.
seeking ways to live healthier, happier lives.
This has been such a rich exploration so far.
Yeah,
I'm really starting to appreciate the depth and nuance of homeopathy.
I'm glad to hear that.
But before we move on, I want to touch on something that might be on some listeners' minds.
Yeah?
What about those times when conventional medicine seems unavoidable, like in emergencies or for serious conditions?
That's a great question, and I want to emphasize that homeopathy isn't about rejecting conventional medicine entirely.
Okay.
It's about using the right approach for the situation.
So it's not an either-or situation,
Right.
but more of a both-or hand.
Exactly. There are times when conventional care is absolutely necessary,
Okay.
like in life-threatening emergencies
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
for certain surgical procedures.
But for many chronic conditions, homeopathy can offer a viable and often gentler alternative,
Mhm.
especially for those seeking to minimize their reliance on medications
Right.
or address the root cause of the imbalance.
The book highlights a few specific examples like Candida overgrowth and hormone replacement therapy.
For Candida, it emphasizes that rather than just killing the yeast with antifungal medications, homeopathy focuses on strengthening the body's overall health and immune system, making it less susceptible to overgrowth in the first place.
And with hormone replacement therapy, particularly during menopause, the book suggests that homeopathy can help women navigate this natural transition without resorting to synthetic hormones, which can sometimes have undesirable side effects.
It's all about supporting the body's natural processes and addressing imbalances holistically, rather than just targeting specific symptoms.
Precisely. And it's this holistic approach that makes homeopathy such a compelling and potentially transformative healthcare system.
I think one of the most empowering aspects of homeopathy is the emphasis on personal responsibility and active participation in the healing process.
Absolutely. The book highlights the importance of, committing to homeopathic treatment, being open and honest with your practitioner, and making lifestyle changes that support your overall well-being.
It's not just about passively receiving treatment, it's about becoming an active agent in your own healing journey.
Precisely. And it's this empowerment that makes homeopathy such a unique and potentially transformative approach to healthcare.
So if someone is considering exploring homeopathy, what are the key things they need to know to ensure they're getting the most out of this approach?
The book offers some excellent advice. Firstly, find a qualified and experienced homeopath who resonates with you.
Okay.
It's essential to feel comfortable and confident in your practitioner's abilities.
And as we've discussed, be prepared to share openly and honestly about your life experiences, emotional patterns, and even those things you might be hesitant to discuss.
Exactly. The more information your homeopath has, the better they can understand your individual needs and prescribe the most appropriate remedies.
And it's also important to understand that homeopathic treatment is often a process, not a quick fix. Be patient with yourself and allow your body the time it needs to heal.
Absolutely. Healing is a journey, not a destination.
And finally, embrace the idea of personal responsibility for your health. Homeopathy empowers individuals to take ownership of their well-being and make informed choices that support a vibrant and balanced life.
It's about recognizing that we have the innate capacity to heal, and that homeopathy can be a powerful ally in that journey.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful, and I think it's safe to say that we've only scratched the surface of this complex and fascinating world of homeopathy.
It's a system that invites us to think differently about health healing and the incredible potential of the human body.
And for those listeners who are eager to delve deeper, we highly recommend checking out Homeopathy, Beyond Flat Earth Medicine, and exploring the resources it provides.
It's a valuable guide for anyone seeking a more holistic and empowered approach to healthcare.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the history and philosophy of homeopathy to its potential benefits and practical considerations. I think we've all gained a deeper understanding of this unique approach to healing, so we've talked about these big ideas behind homeopathy. But now I'm curious about the practical side of things.
Okay.
What are homeopathic remedies actually like,
Right.
and how do you even use them?
Well, you might be surprised to learn that most remedies come in the form of these tiny white pellets.
Okay.
They're made by basically impregnating these little sugar pills with the diluted substance.
So it's not like drinking a potion or anything.
No bubbling cauldrons here.
Okay.
You just dissolve a few pellets under your tongue, and they're absorbed super quickly.
Okay, that's way easier than I imagined.
Yeah,
But how much do you take, and how often
Yeah.
is there like a standard dosage?
that's where your homeopath comes in.
Okay.
They'll tailor the dosage and frequency based on your specific needs and the potency of the remedy.
Okay, makes sense. It's all about that personalized approach we've been talking about.
Exactly.
But what about those labels you see on some remedies in stores? They often say things like, for colds and flu.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean they only work for those specific things?
Those labels can be a bit misleading. The book explains that, manufacturers are required to list a condition on the label,
Okay.
but it doesn't mean the remedy is only for that.
Gotcha. So it's like a general guideline, but not the whole story.
Exactly the same remedy might be used for a whole range of seemingly unrelated issues,
Right.
depending on the person's individual symptoms.
That's where working with a qualified homeopath is so crucial, right?
Absolutely.
They can help you navigate all those nuances and find the remedy that truly matches your needs.
It's like having a guide who could help you decipher the language of your body
Right.
and find the right tools to support its healing.
Okay, so let's say you've got your remedies. Any tips for storing them?
Right.
I imagine they're pretty sensitive given how diluted they are.
You're right. They do need a little TLC.
Okay.
The book recommends keeping them in a cool, dark place,
Okay.
away from strong odors, direct sunlight, and electromagnetic fields.
So no storing them next to the microwave or the Wi-Fi router?
Precisely those things can actually disrupt the subtle energetic properties of the remedies.
Good to know. Now, what about combining homeopathy with other things?
Okay.
Like, can you take remedies while you're on conventional medication?
It depends.
Okay.
It's best to discuss this with both your doctor and your homeopath
Okay.
to make sure there are no potential interactions.
Okay. And what about other alternative therapies, like herbs or essential oils?
The book cautions against using strong essential oils,
Okay.
especially topically, as they can interfere with the remedies.
So it's best to err on the side of caution and talk to your homeopath about any other therapies you're using.
Exactly. They can guide you on what's safe and effective to combine.
Now, I know some people are skeptical of homeopathy. They might say it's just a placebo effect. What's the response to that?
The book acknowledges that the placebo effect is real
Sure.
and plays a role in any healing modality.
Right.
But it argues that the placebo effect alone can't account for the profound and lasting results that many people experience with homeopathy.
Right. Especially those cases we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
where people saw improvements in chronic conditions
Yeah.
that had been resistant to other treatments.
And then there's the evidence from animals who aren't susceptible to the placebo effect.
Right.
The fact that homeopathy seems to work on animals suggests that there's something more going on
Right.
than just a psychological response.
It really points to the idea that these remedies are working on a deeper level, stimulating the body's own healing intelligence.
Precisely. It's not about the substance itself,
Right.
but the energetic imprint it leaves behind, which acts as a catalyst for change.
Wow. This has been such an eye-opening journey into the world of homeopathy.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
I have to admit, I started this deep dive with a healthy dose of skepticism, but I'm definitely intrigued now.
It's a system that challenges us to expand our understanding of health and healing and to recognize the incredible power of the body to heal itself.
I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is this emphasis on treating the person, not the disease. It's such a refreshing change from the one-size-fits-all approach that's so common in conventional medicine.
Absolutely. And it empowers people to make an active role in their own well-being. It's about recognizing that we each have a unique healing journey and that homeopathy can be a powerful tool for navigating that journey.
Well said. And if any of our listeners are feeling inspired to learn more, we highly recommend checking out the book Homeopathy, Beyond Flat Earth Medicine. It's a fantastic resource for anyone who wants to delve deeper into this fascinating world.
It's a real gem, and remember, the journey to better health is an ongoing exploration. Stay curious, ask questions, and trust your intuition. You have the power to create a vibrant and fulfilling life.
That's such a beautiful message to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of homeopathy. Until next time, be well.